Okay, we're recording. Yes. Okay, everybody. Yay. So this is the fifth class, I think. This is the fifth meeting, I think we've had.
Yep.
And my Q&As that I send is really always to do a review, you know, of the material. So you guys have them. We can go through them.
These ones were a little trickier, Alessandra.
Yay!
You did a good job.
Yay!
Or maybe it's just that it's a really harder to understand. But anyways.
Well, the idea is, I think there's some really key points that I want to make sure are clear, because this is the building block of everything else we're going to do, and everything else will go so much smoother now. Will be easier because we got this good foundation to build the concepts on top of. So this is a good review because we only meet 2-3 times, you know, every 2-3 weeks, and this is not languages we use all the time. So it's good to, even for me, to review them. So, okay, Eva, you're just gonna have to follow along with us.
Yep.
So this is the Cosmogenesis is still this section, and it's the information on that topic called the enemy and the non-existence. Remember, this is one of the 6 elements that is part of what is in matter. And these are all definitions that we're going to plug into the different sentences. So the first sentence reads like this, and then I'll tell you, well, you guys have it, right? You have the list. Eva, you don't, so I'm going to have to read it.
No.
So,
is this part A or part B? I can't remember.
Part A. We're part A.
Okay.
Part A. So the first one, okay, so there's these 7 fill in the blanks, these 7 points that you get to fill in. But I'm going to tell you first the sentence, and then you guys see if you can figure out. And it is that 2-3 pages on the enemy and the non-existence. Okay. So question mark represents the original condition within which what exists came to express itself. It's present in all that is here. And the possible answers are pre-Atlantean human civilization, forms, matter, complexity, the enemy and non-existence.
That one.
Yay! So the enemy and the non-existence is what was here before, and everything came, matter created itself in the non-existence. Okay, is that clear? So, and then the next one is the question, there's blank, though we have to find out what it is generated in the non-existence. It starts to occupy it. And so, is it pre-Atlantean, forms, matter, complexity, the enemy, agent, forms, matter. Matter is generated in the non-existence, and it starts to occupy it. Is that good?
Yep.
And then the next note is question mark, is young and in a state of development so barely conscious itself, closer to the nothingness, there is no complexity yet.
Okay, I got mixed up with that one. I said
Matter again.
It's matter again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Good.
So, yeah. So matter is young, as is in a state of development barely conscious itself, and it's closer to the nothingness. There is no complexity yet. And I wanted you guys to just remember that, okay? I think it's important to know what we are doing here trying to develop ourselves and become more and more complex, so that we do this jump in evolution. The next point is question mark, is a mechanical force with considerable powers. It's not conscious nor intelligent. Oh, I cannot read the other ones because then you're going to get the answer.
Yeah. So that's number 5 again.
It's number 5, the enemy and nothingness. But I'm going to read the paragraph because I think it's important to review. So the enemy or nothingness is a mechanical force with considerable power. It's not conscious nor intelligence. The nothingness is an opposing force to matter, arriving at complexity, and therefore a potential enemy for the human primordial divinity, because the nothingness is not intelligent nor conscious, and the human primordial divinity can't deal with it directly. All that the human primordial divinity can do is continue to spiritualize, divinize matter in the slotted amount of time. And if it succeeds, then it takes over the nothingness and it becomes divinized here. So this is the gist of this human experience.
So you have a minute for a little discussion on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we were talking about this afternoon, and it also said in those pages that the nothingness, like it said before, is powerful, and it's not that it does anything, it's that it's like a space holder, and it takes longer for the divination to occur because you have to work through the nothingness. So the more nothingness there is, the longer it takes to bring the memories back to the mirror pieces.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I would look at it more, yes. Look at it more like gravity. You know, like we think, you know, it's just a force. It's not an evil force. It's just part of what's here. So this is the same. And we can go beyond gravity. There's anti-gravitational technologies, you know. We just have to evolve enough that we can create them, or that we can work with what's here differently. So this is the same thing. Yeah, it's exactly that. So I think it's important to realize that it's just a state of what's here. Like, it's not to judge bad or good. It's just a force. Does that?
Elizabeth, maybe you can, where you brought in the human experience with this, maybe you can.
Oh, well, because a lot of those words, I like to put them in a simple thought form. And I thought, okay, so it's like when I'm sitting in front of the TV and I'm doing nothing, so I learn nothing, and it's like this nothingness. It would be equal to being lazy or being what do you call it? Like putting everything else aside and just doing nothing. Procrastinating. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. If that helps you metabolize the concept, okay. My feeling is that it's not really to be judged. It's to be aware, but it's not to be, because then you're going to start. It's a bad thing, you know. Sometimes it's good to do nothing, you know. When you're talking about the world and you're just resting and you're in a lull, it's also good to take care, you know. So I think that to give this nothingness that definition is,
it's too harsh.
No, it's a different element. It's a different element.
Like I was trying to think of an example on how I can wrap the idea in my head that it's easy, because if it's nothingness, so this.
let's bring it inside of you, because this force is also inside of us. So let's look at an action. You know, somebody upsets you, and instead of trying to reason with them or trying to realize that, hey, maybe it's their stuff, it's got nothing to do with me, you get upset and you slap them. Kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then look, that's more, again, it's against your nature. It's not usually the flow of who you would be. You're doing an action that's not something that with the right state of mind you would do. That's when you're accessing this force. That's when you are doing things that are not going to evolve you, or that are not going to evolve those around you. Then you're accessing this kind of this concept. Not when you're, wait, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, no, but like I was saying before, if I'm staring at the wall, I'm not meditating, or let's say that I'm watching some silly show that is not teaching me anything, and my brain, instead of absorbing some kind of intelligence, because from what I understand, complexity and matter are supposed to be intelligent, right? But if I'm sitting in front of the TV, watching, let's say, commercial after commercial, my brain is doing nothing, my body is doing nothing, my intelligence and my conscious is doing nothing for me, so I'm not developing. I don't know how to
Okay. So stay with that.
No, I'm thinking if you elevate what Elizabeth was saying just a little bit, because I understand, Alessandra, what you're saying. We all need a relief valve. Sometimes we just need to do nothing because our head's so full. We just need a break. I get that. But the mindlessness of what Elizabeth is talking about, which we have more or less gotten rid of. We still have little snippets from time to time, but generally that's not any part of our lives. But I would say if you want to elevate it to, because when in all the things that we've learned, the one commonality is when people say, well, what is the most important thing in life? And that's to nurture and find loving relationships. So let's say if you kill a loving relationship, are you making more nothingness?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because that would be, because that's what that does. Because when you're sitting in front of the TV, mindlessly doing nothing, you're avoiding some other issue, because normally we wouldn't be doing that anyway. But maybe if there's other things going on, maybe you would, and that's detrimental to a relationship. Say that. Not killing it, but it's certainly not helping.
But what if that action catalyzes the other person to be a better person because they put something in motion? So you're judging. You are. You know what I'm saying? It's. I think the only. Okay. Maybe if, maybe I'll just continue with that thread and say, you know what, guys, I might have to go upstairs. Can you guys hear the chatter in the back, or it's okay?
It's okay. No, we're fine.
Okay. Maybe this example can help. So if you have a nameless, a life without purpose, without developing yourself, yes, I would say you are contributing to the nothingness because you haven't created any complexity. Yes. And in that respect, yes. Okay, if you need to if that helps you to if that goes along this idea that you're trying to say. Yes, if you're not trying to develop deeper aspects of yourself, or you're just aimlessly living life without purpose, then yes, because you are not arriving at any higher understanding of yourself or the world around you. So then yes, okay, maybe now I understand more the question instead of just a moment in time. Yeah, so then yes, you would not be producing complexity. I don't think you would be adding, and yes, you would not be, yeah, okay, I got it. Yes, does that make sense?
Yeah, because we were trying to look at it from the complexity point of view, right? Because we have all this mass, and then the further you go, the less mass you have. So does that mean that, I was thinking of a brain, right? We only use, what is it, 5% of our brain?
Yeah.
I don't know, thought I heard that. So, and when I'm not learning, I'm not developing myself, that brain stays empty. But as I'm learning, now that mass is going to be less, and then I'm going to have
More information.
more
Yeah.
complexity.
A smaller space. Like it's in a bigger space now, but it's
Guys, I'm gonna take you upstairs because I have her in the back and it's a bit distracting for me. That's okay.
concentrating. It's concentrating that data in the same space that you were using before for less data. So that's why, I think that's why that complexity law says the mass is decreasing as the information increases.
Yes, then yes, absolutely. Okay, yes. Now I get it. I think I was, I was.
Another way of looking at it, I think there's a lot of ways to look at it. You know, it's like that diamond, there's so many faces to it.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, no. So then yes, absolutely. I think I don't think you want to get to not evolve yourself is much more than, it's really people that are not engaged in life in any kind. Like you really, it's a sitting in front of the. So no, I understood. You know, it's. But what you said as far as a concept to understand makes, yes, you can use that. Absolutely. Yes. So we clarified that. Eva, are you with us?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
And does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is that good? You brought me around. Yes, I agree. Not that I have to agree, but I didn't want to get stuck on the, yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly. No complexity. So it would be, not going in the direction of evolution. Now, that was that point. And now the next one is, so question mark, can be influenced to move in the direction of the nothingness. So is it pre-Atlanteans, forms, matter, complexity, the enemy, agents, forms with the divine spark? And the answer is forms with the divine spark can be influenced to move in the direction of the nothingness. And because forms with the divine spark have developed a certain level of complexity and have free will and can move in opposite direction from the physical laws. while forms that don't have free will must follow the physical laws. So
the two blank points are forms, right?
yeah,
Okay.
forms with the divine sparks.
Right.
And this is interesting because of the discussion, you know, that we were having, you know, cats and dogs, you know, and animals just you know, stay there and are blissed out. And listen, I'm not saying they don't have a divine spark. I think my pets have divine sparks, and so I mean we all do. But you know, the soul and all of that stuff. But I think this is, you know, this is when you contribute to the nothingness. When you know, when you act out of your own free will and you do things that are not kind, and you do things purposely to hurt others, you know, that's going against the evolution of life. So but I think also here, and this is a question, we have to be very careful what we consider good and bad, because it's so tainted by the time period we are living in, you know? So
That's right. Because
Yeah.
over the years, you know, what people thought was bad, we think nothing of now.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's an idea, but it's something that it's not so straightforward either. I think people that consciously do harm really, you know, are playing with this, are going against the life form and the life evolution. But it's important just to have, sorry, Eva,
Nothing.
No, I didn't say anything.
Elizabeth.
Nope.
No, it was just a glitch.
But I think it's important to let that sink in, because to also help us not jump to conclusions about others and what we see, but try to get a deeper understanding of the scope of what's in front of us sometimes. You know, it's also a point of, you know, just a little bit more depth in our understanding of things before. And okay, so that sort of goes together. So I'll just read it as a one big paragraph because it goes together. So forms with the divine spark can be influenced to move in the direction of the nothingness because, one, they have developed a certain level of complexity and have free will and can move in opposite direction from the physical laws, while forms that don't have free will must follow the physical laws. And I just want you guys to ponder this a little bit. I think animals and nature, if we observe it, could be giving us a real clear way to observe these laws that we talk about, because they can't go against them, right? They're in the flow. Like all of nature is in the flow of this, you know? You know, the smaller fish is eaten by the bigger fish that's eaten by the big, you know, that those concepts that we've always heard in nature, there's something. So I think it's just something fun to play with. That sometimes that nature,
They never stray from that ever.
yeah,
It's their how they live.
it's
Never change.
so they are expressing, and they can only act according to the physical laws. It's interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So, so the forms with the divine sparks can be influenced to work with the nothingness, and because they can go against the laws, and the forms with the divine spark can perceive beyond matter, making it possible to enter into contact with the nothingness.
Okay, now I'm lost. because
Oh, this one is,
on the same page or just before it, it says, it starts off with the word if, which means this is all hypothetical, but based on what the Damanurians had learned in all their studies, because they say if, because we really don't have any proof, so we start with if. If the real is defined as beyond matter. I was thinking, well, I was like process of elimination. I was trying to figure out, well, which one of these would fit in there? Because forms with the divine spark can't perceive beyond matter. If they're
Yeah.
divinized, they can, but they're not yet. They have the spark, which means you have to light the fire. So
wait,
I'm
let me,
thinking if that number two, the only one that I could see would be pre-Atlantean human civilization, because it's at a different level than forms with the divine spark. It's the next level up. At least that's my perception.
okay, okay, okay. So say, okay.
That's the next one.
I see what you're saying.
Just a little, want to make sure we're all moving ahead at the same understanding here. That kind of threw me.
No, all
No, but Duncan, oh, so for you, you would say that, okay.
Because it said that the beginning of the paragraph, it says, if we define the real as being beyond matter. So everything else after that was making that assumption that the real is beyond matter. And here we're saying that can perceive beyond matter, the blank. So I'm thinking the only one of those is going to be number one. And again, that's just judging by my assumption that pre-Atlantean human civilization is a level above where we are now. Consciousness. So that's why I think it's the only one. But if you just pulled it out of the book and filled in the blanks, and that's what was there, but it just made me stop and think.
no, in the book it says it's all forms. Forms can perceive beyond matter, making it possible to enter into contact with the nothingness.
But at the beginning of that section, that's where it says.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's a coyote question, because that's kind of contradicting.
Let me just.
Alessandra, you have a
interest to move in the direction.
my head.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to can move and obviously. You just don't want to admit how much power you have. We're very powerful. We just forgotten. Can perceive beyond, making it possible to enter into contact with them. Okay, so how I read that is because we can meditate, because we can have concepts of traveling in the astral plane, because we can dream, we have access to really much higher planes.
I see the key word there is perceive. Yeah. We're not living there, but we can perceive it.
Yeah. So I think that's it's more in that context, this. Okay.
Yep.
So Eva, are you following us?
Yeah.
So forms with the divine spark can be influenced to move in the direction of the nothingness because they have developed a certain level of complexity and have free will and can go against the physical laws. And the forms that don't have this free will have to follow the physical laws. And forms with the divine spark can perceive beyond matter, like in the dream state, like in our meditative states, like in our imagination too. making it possible to enter into contact with the nothingness. So that's our gifts, this free will and this capacity to perceive beyond the physical realm that we live in. And those are things that make us prey and seduced by the nothingness that is around. It's then possible to consciously move in the direction of the nothingness, and we become agents. And then this is an important historical note. And then it's a question mark. Question mark, encountered dangerous alien civilizations whose objective was to return to nothingness, destroy any aspect of complexity with the final step, their own destruction, and return to the nothingness, which they believe is absolute perfection. So, is the answer pre-Atlantean?
Number one.
Yeah, pre-Atlantean human civilizations. So pre-Atlantean human civilizations encountered dangerous aliens, and that was what the demise of Atlantis was. So to summarize the enemy, the nothingness, and the non-existence, the nothingness is in all forms, matter, complexity, agent, divine spark. It's in all forms. It's in all forms. So the nothingness is in all the forms that are here. It opposes what? It opposes
Divine spark? No.
complexity.
Oh, tricky.
It
Or
opposes.
like it said, it also said impedes the progress, because progress of complexity, because it's that space it has to go through it. If the space, or if that nothingness wasn't there, we'd gain more complexity at a quicker rate.
Yes, there wouldn't be the force. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I got that one. Okay.
And there are question mark of the nothingness that want to destroy everything and return to the nothingness. There are
Agents? No?
agents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not like Maxwell Smart though.
Sorry?
Not like Maxwell Smart.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. But it's no, you know, it's good to do this because I promise you, this is going to build a nice foundation of understanding, just to review these things. And then the rest is easy. I think we have the timepiece, and then the rest is just storytelling. You know, we can have fun, but at least we will have these concepts that we can push against. You know, because we understand them. So that was number one. And then, okay, there's more. The universe, the threshold, and the real. And then this is that section on page 54. And then once again, we have to fill in the blanks. So, and we have attractors, matter, gathering information, threshold, complexity, real. Those are the six, oh, the numbers are wrong there, but 6 elements, 6 things. Okay, the first question, there are 3 stages of being we call form. Stage 1 is within form.
Matter?
So, yes, that's matter. Yeah. Number 2, this is the intermediary dimension between forms. Laws here are still primeval, are starting to be partially modified. No time and matter here, where information or memory of form is kept. So
Threshold?
the threshold, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then number 3, question mark, drives the whole system, but because the real itself cannot, well, I give it away. Okay, so that's the real. The real drives the whole system, But because the real itself cannot be in the form, the derivative laws don't allow it, blank carry out this function for the real. So the blank is the real in matter. So those are called attractors, matter, gathering information, threshold, complexity, or real. The attractors.
Attractors and
Yes. We're gonna learn about the attractors. So the attractors are, we're gonna talk about them now as we go in a little bit deeper in the chapter. The attractors are the real that disintegrates and comes through the threshold into matter. That's how the real participates. And it's the one that gathers the information, the experiences, leaves it in the threshold, goes back to the real. And we're gonna touch on, there's like 4 different types of attractors that are present. But they all start the same in the real. So those are the attractors. Okay, the attractors' jobs. All attractors are the same when they start in the real. Then they move through the threshold. And what do they do? Question mark, and bring into matter and then back again into the threshold where they leave the information gathered before returning to the real. So they move through the threshold and what do they, and bring matter,
Is it complexity?
gathering information.
Oh.
Then they move through the threshold, gathering information and bringing it to matter. And then back again into the threshold where they leave the information gathered before returning to the real. You guys visualize that? Eva?
Yeah.
So these are the attractors. It's the real participating in matter. And I wanted to make sure that we touch this so that we have this visual of the real is sitting there beyond the threshold. It's in the space. It's creating all of this and it sustains this by participating through these emissaries, these attractors. The attractors are neutral when they leave the real. As they get into the threshold, they pick up information that's been left before. This is what causes and creates evolution because it's picking up the information that's been left there from everybody all the attractors that have done their work. So it picks up stuff and then it comes back into matter, has an experience, goes back up, leaves everything in the threshold and returns back to the real neutral. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me of that wonderful afternoon where we sat with that Bobcat guy. I can't remember how to say it in Italian, but the guy we all thought was probably not one of the better relayers of information. Let's leave it at that. And he drew the concentric circle, right? So we had the forms and we had the threshold and we had the real. And then he started to talk about the avatars where they would take all their previous personalities, which they dropped off in the thresholds when they die and come back and they pick them all up again.
That's exactly what we do. We're those avatars. We're those avatars. That's exactly what we do. And you know, some of the stuff we pick up, the attractors that make us up, some of those that information we pick up is ours, that's been evolved and distilled. And some others is not even ours, it's somebody else that they left there and we have to try to integrate. So like all these things.
I can speak like this, I cannot know where it came from. It's just that.
That's exactly it. That's exactly
where that comes from, I don't know.
There you go. It's one of your Indian attractors. I'm not kidding you guys, that works. So when you get attached to, you know, how you are and how other people are, you know, the part that they're expressing might be your old personality that you didn't integrate and they have to integrate it.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so wait. Eva, are you following us?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So I'm just going to read this because it goes all together. So the attractor's job, all attractors are the same when they start in the real. Then they move through the threshold, they gather information and bring it into matter, and then back again into the threshold where they leave the information gathered before returning to the real, after they've done their work. And then they are creating, the attractors, they are creating blank so that this blank can eventually move to the real. What are they creating?
Complexity.
That's it. That's their only job, lady.
Good. Creating complexity so that this matter can be eventually moved to the real.
So no watching TV without any thoughts in your brain.
No, and just an observation. The fact that we can't see Ava. I think a lot of the times, Alessandra, and you said, Ava, are you following this? Are you following us? And she says yes. But what we don't see is her shaking her head. They're just figuring this out now.
Yeah, I think Eva is she's a librarian. So your understanding of the words and you hold on to every word and you can see it. It's very clear to you, I think, for you. So yeah, you must be thinking, okay, guys, eventually they'll get it. If I listen to them long enough, they'll come around. But it's in the words.
No, I just find it mind-boggling too.
And it's good to talk it through because
Yeah.
Hmm.
awful lot of concepts here.
But they're getting clearer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting clearer. Okay, the next one is your charts. This was inspired by Duncan. And also, I think visually, it helps to demystify everything. So we don't get so attached, you know? So I have these two little diagrams. The first one is called the universe, the threshold, and the real, which is on page 54. And the other one is a bit of a makeup of a couple of concepts, and it's called the world of ideas on page 30. It starts there. And in this second one, what I wanted to recreate is what you had done, Duncan, with the demiurge, with the world of ideas. And then I wanted to superimpose on that the rhythmic numbers so that we realize that the concepts sound very complicated sometimes, but if we put them in a nice little bubble with a few, charts, we can see the process a lot easier. So that was really an inspiration from what you had done with the demiurge. So this is just,
Alessandra, do you mind if we back up a bit?
yeah, go ahead.
What are the rhythmic numbers?
So what happens is as matter is being created, the first step is this real is getting disintegrated. When the real gets disintegrated, it creates a new dimension called the world of ideas. And this is where everything, it's a virtual world. Okay, this is pre anything. There's nothing here except the real is breaking up and we have to create the world that we live in. So we have this dimension called the world of ideas. And so what happens is these ideas start their process into the creating matter. And they do that by the idea pops out of the dimension on the back of something called a demiurge. It's a numerical code, and it's called a demiurge. And this idea is in the back of this little creature or this little concept, the demiurge, and it goes around and it gets perceived by whatever forms are there now. At the beginning, it's very basic forms. And by being perceived, it's like it nourishes this idea that the demiurge is carrying, and it brings it back to the world of ideas where an archetype starts to get developed. Okay, so that is the first stage of matter being created. As this process continues, the next, as this cycle ends, the time direction starts to be able to touch it. The demiurge cycle, the world of ideas gets carried by the demiurge, gets perceived by whatever forms are around, goes back and becomes a form now. And now there's enough density that there's a time direction that the time sphere gets to play now with this demiurge. And it starts the process again. And now that this process is beginning again, a material object starts to form. And now we need something more called a rhythmic number, so that there's more density to this idea. It becomes more of an object, and it can be touched by the laws. And then the rhythmic number creates a more defined form. So the demiurge brings the virtual idea in the cycle to start to initiate a direction for matter that helps it create time. And then in order to create density, you've got the rhythmic number so that it actually forms into an object. And the rhythmic number works with the soul atom that gives the outline and the time matrix. Okay, so those are, I'm trying to use the words in the book, but the rhythmic number gives more density to the ideas. It gives more density to gives the object density.
Okay, I get that. But in the book it says it assigns a time direction to ideas.
That's the demiurge. That's the demiurge.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so when we go through these notes, when we go through these, I put the page numbers so that you can refer back.
Okay.
It's not going to be, once we do this exercise with the charts, it's going to be simpler, okay? And then I'll tell you something. When we read, the first time we read it, it's a lot, but once you start to dissect it out and you look at it again, it becomes simpler. It becomes clearer. Okay, so you have the two little charts that look like this, right, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, don't look at A, because I'm just going to confuse you. Don't look at physical matter. That's going to be the last piece, okay? So let's find in these two charts where we're going to put this piece, the universe of form, matter. The 6 elements of matter are attractors, derivative laws, time, divine spark, superior intelligence, demiurge, elements of matter, i.e. nothingness. Where in
the center,
are we going to find that?
No?
Sorry?
Is it where the form is?
Okay.
No. Which one are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Okay, goes to, okay, the universe of matter is this, we're looking for the universe of matter. Go to page 54, guys.
Okay. Ah, yeah, there we go.
Da, 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 da. The universe of matter. It's right in the middle.
Right. It's
okay, so guys, it's so right there.
So you're talking about the picture at the top where you have form, threshold, and real. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So so B, universe of matter, in the little diagram goes in number 3. Can you see where number 3 is?
No. Where's number
Okay.
3? Oh, yes, yes. Yeah,
The universe, the threshold, and the real in that chart.
yes.
So that is where matter goes. That represents, okay, mine is a little bit smaller, but it's this guy. It's this chart.
Right.
Yeah. And I just wanted to give you a review of the elements that are at play in the world of matter. Then C, the real, where it drives, okay, the real, where it divides, where it divides, it creates an, okay. So this is the real. When it divides, it creates a new dimension, the world of ideas. This dimension contains the entire potential expressible, but only still virtual. This is because there is no time yet. So this number C, this letter C, goes in the second diagram, which is the world of ideas. The world of ideas.
Sorry,
And it goes on number 4. So C goes there because it starts it all. It's the real breaking up, and it starts it all.
So number 4 is real?
Is not letter C. Yeah, it's the real.
Where's C? What letter are you talking about?
So, oh no, maybe this is a little bit more confusing. So in part 3B, in my part 3B, I gave you all the letters that you need to stick in the little charts.
Okay. I see. So
My
4
little drawings. I thought they were really cute, but now I realize they were really complicated.
No, no.
Yeah, because I was looking at B, with universal form, and I looked at those numbers and I said, are the labels to those numbers corresponding to the numbers in your second diagram?
No, they're all part
I
of,
get confused.
yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to give you all the, yeah,
So
just the
should
letters.
those numbers be letters then?
Yeah, small a, small b, small c, small
Okay.
e. Yeah, I could. I just wanted to make sure that we reviewed also those elements because they're important.
Okay, so B would be form, yes?
No, B
Mm-hmm.
is the universe of form. It's in number 3 of the first. Yeah.
Right. So B is number 3. Okay.
Yeah, B is number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So number 4
is C.
4 is C.
Mm-hmm.
4 is at the top of the second schematic, right? Okay.
And once we
7 is underneath that. Oh no, 4 goes to 5, which is down at the bottom. So the real
so what
to the threshold.
So 1 and 4 are the same, which are the real. Number 1.
No. 1 is going to be different.
Oh, okay. I'm jumping to conclusion.
And I promise you this, we're going to do this, we're going to place them, and then we're going to go to the diagrams and we're going to read the diagrams.
Okay. Let's do it. Yeah. So
let's place them. So we've got, forget about A for now, because that one you're going to kill me when you do this. It's okay. It's all good. So B is in the universe, the threshold, and the real schema. It's the middle. It's the universal form. I've just given you more data to review what the universal form is made up of.
Okay.
Now, C, the real, when it divides, it creates a new dimension, the world of ideas. This dimension contains the entire potential and expressed only still virtual. This is because there's no time. And that one goes into the second diagram at the top. It's the first element, okay? Now, the rhythmic number. Okay. Is a number it's
Rhythm number.
oh, did I write it wrong? It's rhythmic, right?
No,
So-
rhythm number.
No, I think I meant to say rhythmic.
Okay.
It's the number that you were talking about before, so it's
Yeah,
rhythmic.
yeah, yeah. It's a rhythmic number. Yeah, okay. Rhythmic.
Rhythmic number. A number superimposed on the demiurge number so that the law can start to interact with the form or object. And
So 5.
It should be on top of 5, not on top of 8. Okay, I did it wrong, guys.
You have the arrows going down to 5.
Okay, you know what we're gonna do? Because I think this, I think what we're gonna do is, yeah, this was I should have put the diagram first and then the words. So let's do this, guys. Let's go to the diagram of the universe, the threshold, and the real. And then by looking at that, let's go to page 54 and let's fill it in. Let's find the number, the letters that correspond, because I realized I did the second one wrong. I missed something there. I didn't. Okay, so let's take a little pause. Let's complete first this one. Let's complete first this little guy.
Okay.
So let's look at A to I, and let's fill it all in. So we know the number 3 is B. It's the universal form. And then number 1 and number 2. Number 1, according to the book, would be the real. So let's look at for the real, but it's not the real in C, it's another real.
What?
It's gonna be on I, the last point. The real, where the 9 primeval divinities are and 8 primeval laws, energies are found. So number 1 is I. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, that's in line with our chart on page 54. And we know that C is the universal form, right? 3 is C. It's the universal form. And now, what is number 2? Number 2 is?
Threshold.
Right, the threshold. So we've got where threshold, where the primeval laws are partially modified, no time and no matter, and it preserves the information and complexity gathers by the attractors. So we have C that's out. No, we have B that's out, we have F that's out, and we have I that are out. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the first one. So we're gonna have fun with the second chart. And this begins in the world of ideas. So we know the number 4 is C, right? It's the real. When it divides, it creates a new dimension, the world of ideas. This dimension contains the entire potential expressible, but only still virtual. And this is because there is no time yet, right? So at the top, number 4, the real is there. So we got it?
Yep.
Now, let's look at the diagram and follow the arrows, just like what you had done, Duncan. Follow the arrow to number 5. And what I was just explaining before, in order for that idea to start to create itself into a real object, the demiurge is introduced. this numerical value. So number 5 is the demiurge. And the demiurge is H. The demiurge assigns a code to the idea so that the idea can start to participate in a time direction. The difference between a virtual object and a real one is time. So number 5 is the demiurge, okay? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Then let's follow the arrow. And number 6 is, and I'm going to give you, so H is now taken care of. So what is left? In number 6, what letter is left is E. The letter E. Perception, exercised by different species of animals, plants, etc. So this idea that's in the real comes out with the demiurge to be perceived by life forms. Okay, so E is now the perception. And then it goes back into number 7, and number 7 is
Archetypal.
the archetypal idea of a determined object is preserved in the world of ideas. Objects are preserved in the world of ideas only if sufficient numbers of different species perceive it. Therefore, having a wide variety of forms is really a fundamental element in the maintenance of the universe. So then G becomes number 7, okay? And now number 7 goes to number 8, and number 8 is
Matter.
da, 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 da.
Is it matter?
Wait. I think
The only letter left.
Yes. It's physical. It's physical matter. Yes, that's it. You got it. Physical matter. Yes. So physical matter is number 8. And now what's left is the demiurge. The rhythmic number is a number that is imposed on the demiurge number so that the law can start to interact with the form. So I put number 9 around 8, but it should be around number 5. You see this little squiggly line that I put around number 8, the orange line?
Yeah.
That should be around number 5.
Well, that's the rhythmic number.
That's the rhythmic number. Okay, guys, let's review this, because the rhythmic number is superimposed on the demiurge number so that the law can start to interact with the form. Oh, so it can be on top of number 8 because the demiurge is still there. Yeah, no, it's fine there. It's fine. I just got confused. Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. Because in number 8, so we've got this cycle. We have the idea that starts, it's virtual. You also get an experience of why the world is so mathematical and why physics is so fundamental, because it really is all codes and numbers. So you have the real that's broken up, and all these little parts, all these the divided parts make it create this new dimension, which are all the potential possibilities that can be manifested. It's all virtual. So in order for it to start becoming matter, the demiurge is introduced. It's this numerical code that picks up this idea, one idea at a time, and it takes it into matter so that it can be perceived at first by very unevolved forms, but slowly as it continues the cycle, it becomes denser and denser. It goes back now into the world of ideas, nourished by this experience, and it continues, and then it continues to become a physical, and now that it's got more, it's got some density because it's been perceived, it's got an archetypal and form to it, it becomes seen in the material plane, and it starts to interact with the time sphere, and then the rhythmic number superimposes itself on it as well, so that the laws can start to interact with it. There, that's my summary. What do you think?
Wow.
Do you like it? Is it
Wow.
simple enough?
Okay, put it in a simple example.
Okay. Ant, an ant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's even smaller than this, but let's start with something we can understand. I mean, it could be a virus, you know, it can be so small. It can be, but let's do an ant. So the ant is in the world of ideas as a concept. Okay, so the demiurge takes this little ant on its back and it starts traveling around, you know, what's pre-real matter, but there's already some kind of existence. And it gets perceived by a bunch of other scarabs and bees, and all of a sudden it becomes dense with this perception back into the world of ideas, where all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you know, like the ant got identified, like yeah, people like acknowledged it, great. And so now it gets a little denser, and then it pops back out and becomes a real ant, but it starts to come out because now it actually can start to crawl on the earth, you know, and move straight ahead. And then in order for anything else to happen to this thing, this rhythmic number gets superimposed so that the soul atom can identify it and divide it between mass and energy, and the time matrix can work with it, and all the other laws can work with it. Is that a good story?
Sounds good. So the ant was in the non-existent nothingness.
No, she was real. She was in virtual. She was in the virtual world. She
Okay.
was in the virtual world. She was all virtual. So the demiurge takes it prancing around, and the other forms like, oh wow, look, yeah, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, we want that. We want to play with that thing. You know, like I could feed on that, and yeah, I could do something with that. So it goes back to the world of ideas, and it's now got an archetype. It's imprinted. Bella, I'm making all this up, but I'm
No,
just,
I know. Making it simple.
but it's all like, it's, you have to realize that it doesn't have, it will not stay in the world of idea. It will dissolve if it doesn't, it's not held in the thought, in the perception of all these forms that have seen it.
Okay.
You know, so it's being held there, maybe like a ghost kind of feeling. And then because now it's got all these perception, it's got a little bit more substance to it, and then it can start moving, the element of time can start playing with it. And so it has the capacity to become, it starts to become physical in its density. And then to be able to do more, it gets this superimposed rhythmic number on it, which allows the laws now to have an impact, because the 8 laws, the soul atom, the time matrix, start to be able to play with the form.
I think maybe another way to look at it from the big picture is that thoughts create, right?
Yeah.
So you show a picture of a person who has a light bulb over their head, or meaning they thought of something, and it's that thought that turns into the world of ideas, and then that. Maybe if you put that into the diagram, it makes it a little easier to understand where it starts. Because when you say the real, well, yeah, we all know because we learn the words, but to actually see a person with a thought and that turns into something.
Yeah.
It's like we all created Jesus and Muhammad and all that stuff. It goes back to that, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
put a person at the top,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
thought starts, and then it eventually turns into whatever it is, whatever that thought is.
Physical form. Yeah,
Maybe it just adds some clarity to it, just the thought.
that's it. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, think of that as a light bulb on that in that bubble, a real light bulb, you know, the ideas. And then
Now, is
as
that
it goes through this
compact fluorescent or is it LED?
and
Stop it.
Sorry, I get so
is that fluorescent or is it LED?
it's like so intense, this stuff.
So, can I throw a wrench on this?
Yes.
Now, does the universe of the threshold, is that superimposed on the world of ideas?
So the question is, where is the world of ideas? My understanding, okay, and this is just let's just my understanding is, hold on, that's in the book. Is it in the real? I think it's in the real. I think it's in the real. Because matter matter and the threshold, it's in the real. It's getting disintegrated. Wait. That's a very good, so where is the demiurge? Okay, hold on. You guys got that? It's, oh, is it in the matter? No, I think it's in matter already. Hold on. Oh yeah, no, it's one of the elements of matter. Yeah, it's, remember the 6 elements of matter. I just changed these. That's why I wanted to, the universe of form,
Yeah.
letter B, it's one of the elements of matter. So the real has disintegrated, the threshold is there, so it's what's happening in the material plane. It's before the matter is created. So it probably would be, so it's not in the real anymore because the real has disintegrated. And it's probably pre-matter because it's how matter is created. So it's probably in the threshold.
By a process of elimination, it's the only one that's left.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's in the threshold. So it's in the threshold. Can somebody write that down and we ask Coyote? Because no, it would make sense because matter is not created. So matter isn't there. The world of matter isn't there yet.
So then the world of ideas is in the threshold.
It must, yeah. Yes, that's my, can we ask that question?
Yeah, that would be good.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Eva.
Yeah. I'm listening.
I know. Any thoughts?
No, I'm kind of lost, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Eva,
meditation.
Eva, you getting your emails on your iPad?
I don't know. I didn't check lately.
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you.
I think I'm going to send you. I'm going to send it to you all in the mail. I'm going to do that.
No, but you would have got it.
Put all this together.
You would have got Alessandra's email, no?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Okay, beautiful ones. It's 9 o'clock, huh? Just did a nice review of this.
Cindy just woke up.
Oh no.
Oh my God, she says, oh my God, I fell asleep reading and my phone was off.
Good for her. Good for her. Wow.
So there, she was in that nothingness.
You can just
Was in
answer.
the- Listen, no, she was in the threshold. She was in the threshold.
You could just answer her and say, it's okay, we figured it all out, no problem.
No problem. We got this. We got this.
Says you can fill me in. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
no, I'll send her the recording. I'll send her
Yeah.
the recording.
Okay.
Guys, I'm going to turn off the recording because I think we should stop.